the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
In Washington, but I think at the end of the day, Oregon is a better team. And I think Oregon's going to find a way to win this game. So give me the Ducks to go on the road, get it done.
Wow. We disagree right out of the gate here.
We're starting off early.
All right. Where are we going next, Matt Green?
Where are we going next? Our next game on here, let's go to good old Rocky Top. Texas A&M. Oh, man. I think I was really buying A&M last week. Max Johnson, I think, really let me down. I think I wasn't expecting as big of a drop-off at the quarterback position from Connor Weigman to Max Johnson. I think that's what ultimately why they weren't able to beat Alabama a week ago. Ultimately, that Alabama game, so Tennessee comes in 3-point favorite at home in this one. I think ultimately Texas A&M dared Jalen Milroe to beat them, and he actually did it. And I think that's what surprised everybody because they shut down Alabama's run game. And I think that's got to be encouraging, but it's also at home. It's like playing at home versus going on the road. A&M's played one road game so far this year, and it was at Miami. And we all know how outrageous that Miami atmosphere is, right? The fans may have actually shown up to that game. And Texas A&M lost that game. That's the only road game they've played so far this year. Somehow they started the year with 3 straight SEC home games, but now they got to go into Knoxville. And I think if they couldn't beat Jalen Milroe at home, I don't see how they necessarily beat Joe Milton on the road. Like I think the way they just kind of dared Jalen Milroe to beat them, I think Joe Milton will be able to do that. And I don't know that they'll be able to stop the run on the road as well as they were able to against Alabama. So give me Tennessee to win and cover.
Okay. This is tough, Matt Green, because I don't think this is like going to be one of those good test games for people who have no idea what Tennessee is. Because I think a lot of people are going to tune into this game at 3:30 on CBS Saturday and be very surprised to see what Tennessee looks like, because this is their first CBS game this fall. They get back-to-back CBS primetime here with Alabama the following week. It's a big, big weekend. A lot of big recruits here this weekend for Tennessee. Obviously, a lot of big ones next week. A lot were here for South Carolina, and they made real big progress with some key 5 stars and stuff with their drubbing of South Carolina. Here's the thing. Tennessee is arguably the best rushing attack in the SEC this year. They are a ground and pound team. That is what they have had to do week in, week out to score 30 plus, to bury South Carolina. They take their deep shots when they can. Joe Milton threw 2 picks in that game. One was really bad. One was just basically a punt. And that one, his knee still seems pretty banged up from an awkward near sack against UTSA a couple weeks ago. He gets 2 weeks to heal. Heupel, coming off a bye here, is critical. He's undefeated coming off a bye at Tennessee. Tennessee obviously hasn't lost a home game since 2021 under Josh Heupel. That's a big part of your thing here. Jimbo Fisher has not won on the road in the SEC at A&M since when he's been an underdog at any point. So this would be a first. Right? Yeah, so if he is able to pull this off, this would be a first for Jimbo. I would pick A&M outright if Connor Weigman was under center for A&M. Max Johnson has his flaws. Too. And I think that's why the line's 3. It's a pick'em because it's Max Johnson. I think A&M would actually be favored coming into this game if Connor Weigman was under center for the Aggies. That offense is legit. Like, A&M has star power out wide. They are going to push this Tennessee secondary. Danico Slaughter needs to be healthy. We'll see how many snaps he plays for Tennessee at corner. Tennessee has not had to, they didn't have to really worry on the back end as much. Kamala Hadden obviously had the pick 6 that people remember. James Pierce got home a bunch. They are going to have to win big time against this Texas A&M offensive line. And they're going to have to continue to get home. They've done well on the sack front. To this point, James Pierce has had a breakout season. Tyler Barron's been great. They're going to have to get home and make Max Johnson's life miserable because there is so much talent in this receiver room at Texas A&M. I've seen this story before with this Tennessee secondary. If they're not getting home, it's going to be a rough afternoon for Tennessee's defense, even being at home. On the flip side, A&M's got a very, very good rush defense. Very, very good front seven. And they are going to get home. Like Tennessee, the tempo helps sacks. It will always make life easier for their quarterbacks in the offensive line. To not be able to sub, defensive linemen get tired. The sacks just won't be as prevalent when the offense is cooking. That being said, if Tennessee is stuffed early and if Tennessee is not able to move the line of scrimmage and we're looking at 2nd and 10, 3rd and 11 more often than not, this gets ugly and it looks like a low-scoring game. Tennessee can't have this be low-scoring. That's exactly what A&M wants this to be. A&M wants this to be 27-23. Tennessee loses that game every single time. Where this game has to be is kind of what it was against South Carolina. Like Tennessee has to do it in a different way though. And this is, I think, the biggest game for Joe Milton in his 3-year career at Tennessee, because the difference with this particular game than any other game to even the Florida game is this one for Joe, he has to be the best player on the field for them to win this game. And what I mean by that is Joe has to play the best game of his career on Saturday, because I don't think Tennessee is going to be able to use the run-first approach that they have thrived off of to get to this point in the year where they've only got one loss and expect to beat Texas A&M. Joe is going to have to make plays downfield. This offense cannot be as vertically challenged as they've been all season long and not to complete any of these big shots. Joe had one, and Squirrel White was didn't even see the ball against South Carolina. It was one. You were not beating A&M playing that way. You're just not this Saturday. So I think Joe has to be good deep. He has to be challenging for this A&M secondary, because this A&M secondary is not good. Jalen Milroe had a field day against this group. That's the reason Alabama beat A&M on the road. You're at home. Joe has to be as good as Jalen Milroe. He has to have a breakout like game that he has not played this year. Joe Milton has not been great at all this year. He's been okay. He's been a game manager.
So you don't see any way that this offense runs on Texas A&M?
No, I don't think it's going to be as bad as other teams have fared, like Alabama. I just don't think they have the same talent. Like Jalen Wright's he's averaging almost 10 yards a carry for a reason. Like Jalen Wright's a dude. They're going to make their bones in between the tackles. They're going to get theirs. But like, do I think they're running for like 267, averaging like 6-7 yards a carry?
No, I don't think they have to do that. But I think if you're saying it's all on Joe Milton, it's like you're expecting Tennessee to get held under 100 yards rushing, or maybe like 50 yards rushing, that like Joe Milton's going to had to be the reason that this offense scores 35 points or something. Like, I think there's a chance, just because you're at home, like there's something about, the crowd, the offensive line gets going, like you can break a couple runs, like get some momentum. Like I could see a game where Joe Milton doesn't have to be the hero, but they're actually able to establish the run. And this game goes a little bit different than the Alabama game did, even if the score line is similar.
I just think he's going to be in 2nd and long, 3rd and long several times in this game. And I think he can't miss. Like Brew McCoy's out. Like he's gone for the year. Caleb Webb, time to grow up. True sophomore. You got to play. You're filling that spot. You need Dante Thornton healthy. But I do not think, let me just go ahead and say this. If we do not see multiple explosive plays down the field from Joe Milton in this game, Tennessee did not win. That is something that I do not think will happen. Tennessee will have to show. I'm not saying they have to be exactly like Hendon Hooker at home and just the Jalen Hyatt show against Alabama, but they have to do more than what we've seen to this point for them to win this game. The talent's too close. The front seven for A&M's too big, too strong, too good, that I just don't think you're going to be able to play that style. Like South Carolina is a different, battered beast. A&M's a lot better, and I just don't think you're going to be able to get away with that against A&M.
Yeah, especially you've only seen Tennessee play 2 SEC games so far. So
and they bombed their one pretty good road test. That's it. Like,
yeah, so it's really hard to know which coach you think is under more pressure in this game.
Pressure in what context? Like, what do you mean? Like job security?
Just which one's under more pressure? Whatever you deem pressure.
Well, I don't think Jimbo's because Jimbo gets like a free pass. Like Connor's out. So like, because you lost your 5-star quarterback who was playing really well and your offense was cooking, and I think
he's getting too much money to get a free pass for any of these losses.
Well, I think that's the other part of it is like he's got so much money coming in. It's like he's not getting fired this year. Like I was listening to Texags guy this week. It's like he's not getting fired like anytime soon. It's still just we're a ways away from that happening. So Heupel though, You lose this, you're like, I think at Alabama's a loss no matter what now. Like, I'm leaning towards that one, just like with Joe and what we've seen from this group. I don't see a path to winning it in Tuscaloosa next week. So you lose this one, then you lose that one, and then suddenly you're 0-3 against A&M, Bama, and Florida, with Georgia still on the schedule, and at Kentucky and at Mizzou. Like, neither of those are at home. And I'm not saying you're losing both of those, but like, do I think that they could absolutely lose at Mizzou? Yes. Yes, I do. Do I think they'll lose at Kentucky? No, I don't think he'll ever lose to a Stoops. But I do think it's just, you're staring at 7-5 potentially if you drop this one. But if you win this one, 9-3 is just kind of a cakewalk to me. I think there's a lot of momentum to get to 9-3, and that's a huge win.
I think there is a chance. Like, I was not impressed with Max Johnson, but there is a chance that A&M is one of the better teams left on their schedule. I guess they still got Alabama and Georgia, but A&M could be the third best team on the schedule, like easily, for the rest of the way. So they could still beat Missouri and Kentucky and everything. But yeah, I think that definitely turns the heat up on Heupel a little bit more in terms of those other big games. But I just think at home, I don't know. Let me be clear. Let me give my pick, and I'll say this. Go ahead.
I'm picking Tennessee 37. I'm going to say Tennessee 41, Texas A&M 27.
41-27?
Yes.
So by 2 touchdowns. Okay. See, I think it's going to be a close game. I think this is going to be like a 31-24. Like,
I don't think Tennessee wins that. I think if we're near that, I don't think they're winning that game. I think for Tennessee have to win, like, I want to see, like, you better be near 40. Like, you better, because that shows me your offense is clicking. When it's painful, I don't know. I think we know very early with Heupel teams which way it's going. And if it's close and low scoring like that,
like, this team is definitely better than South Carolina. They're definitely better than Florida. So I think there's a chance that, like you said, A&M gets some stops, but I think this Tennessee, I think if their secondary is leaving the windows open that they were against Alabama, I think Milton can hit those. Like, he can't run like Jalen Milroe, but I guess I don't believe in Joe Milton as much as I believe in Neyland Stadium being good enough for 4 or 5 points in this one.
It's going to rain too, by the way, which I think probably helps Tennessee.
Which maybe, I don't even know who that benefits.
It benefits the running team because it means we can maybe get away with just running the ball and being slippery and bouncing around. I don't know. Seems like the running teams benefit more from those kind of conditions.
Texas A&M, not too shabby running the ball either, though.
They're no Tennessee Volunteers. Matt Green, where are we going next?
All right, let's keep it moving. Florida, speaking of the SC East, we got Florida at South Carolina, and South Carolina is actually favored in this one, 2 points at Williams-Brice Stadium. Man, so